the arsonist had odd-shaped feet. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the DJPreps football preview show. Brad and Dalton here for a very special Thanksgiving episode. I thought about just having like a big turkey leg to chew on while we do the show, but that might be too rude. To have food and not be able to share with the viewers.
I mean, they're not here, so.
That's a good point. But we're here for the next few minutes to talk about three big football games coming up. That's what we do. We pick out three big games, and this week we only have three games to talk about, Dalton. It's the North Finals of the MHSAA playoffs. We got three teams left in the running, Dalton, vying to reach the state championship game. So we'll talk about that. We'll hand out the Bralton Award, and we're going to let you know who's going to be where this week at those three games. So let's first go over last week's picks, though. Looking forward to this, Dalton, all week. Told you last week I was going to catch it, didn't I? Yeah. How did we do last week? Well, your old buddy Brad went 3-0. That's right, undefeated. Dalton went 2-1.
That's what I get for picking Houston.
That's what you get for picking Houston. That's right. So overall, we are now both 9-3, Dalton. Oh, things getting interesting as we wind down the season here. So we'll do predictions here in a minute as well. The three games to watch will be Olive Branch at West Point in the 5A North Final. You got Calhoun City at Scott Central in the 2A Final, and Smithville at Simmons in the 1A North Final. Three really good-looking games there, Dalton. So let's start with Olive Branch at West Point. A couple of 12-1 teams here, Dalton. A couple of division opponents. It's a rematch, if you will. West Point beat Olive Branch last year in the North Final, and then during the regular season they won 34-33. Came back in the second half there.
They also beat Olive Branch in the regular season last year.
They did. In fact, Olive Branch's last three losses over the last two seasons, all to West Point. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's a rematch.
Kind of their kryptonite, seems like.
Indeed. Well, West Point is a lot of people's kryptonite. So three keys to the game, Dalton. Key number one, for West Point, need to force Olive Branch to throw the ball. They can run it with a couple of guys, but not so strong with the pass. 117.5 passing yards per game, and four of the last five games have been under 100 yards passing. So if they can make Olive Branch one-dimensional, Dalton, that plays right into West Point's strength, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, not many teams have success throwing the ball against them either. So
no.
I imagine they're going to kind of key on that, and I would imagine they try to make them throw.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, so just kind of key on the run, make them throw, and then just start picking off Tyler Rupert and back them in the secondary, just pick off some passes.
Yeah, exactly. Key number two, fast start, strong finish. West Point's good at both. They've outscored opponents in the first half 244-80. In the second half, they've outscored them 210-95. And remember, again, against Olive Branch in the regular season, they were down in the second half and stormed back to get the 1-point win. So Olive Branch, to me, I mean, they're good in both halves, but to me, they are a really good second half team. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they did it last week against Lafayette, too. Played very strong in the second half. Key number three, and here's where the Thanksgiving theme comes in, Dalton. Pre-game meal. That's right. I asked all six coaches involved in these games what their teams are eating Friday before the game. So this is legit. This is real. Olive Branch going to have barbecue. Pretty good stuff. You can't go wrong with barbecue, Dalton. West Point, I like this. They're going to have meatballs with gravy, mashed potatoes, green beans, water, and Gatorade. You haven't lived until you've washed down meatballs and gravy with Gatorade. I don't know how. I would have to take a 8-hour nap after that. These guys are going to go out and play football. I don't even. Yeah. All right. Prediction time, Dalton. Who you got?
I'm going to go West Point again.
Yes.
It's going to be a close game. We got 35-28. A little more separation than last time.
Okay. I'll say West Point 22, Olive Branch 20. All right. Both picking West Point. Two-time defending champs. Going for three. 2A game. Calhoun City at Scott Central. Calhoun City 10-4. Scott Central 13-1. The matchup. Two really stout defenses, Dalton. Calhoun City giving up just 8.4 points per game, and they shut out Philadelphia last week 14-0. Scott Central only allowing 9.1 points a game. So three keys to the game. Key number one, Scott Central quarterback Treon Wash versus that Calhoun City secondary. Wash is just a sophomore. He's been very good this year, but he's young, but he's only thrown 2 interceptions in 111 attempts. Calhoun City on defense has made 14 interceptions. So you got strength versus strength, Dalton, but you got to maybe favor a little bit the experienced secondary versus a young quarterback.
Yeah, I've seen the Calhoun City defense, and that defense is just nasty.
They are nasty. They were nasty last week. Key number two, speaking of experience, that is key number two. Calhoun City making its third consecutive trip to the North Final. Scott Central hasn't been this far since 2003, so a lot of these juniors and seniors for Calhoun City have been in this very position the last couple of years, and they will not be intimidated by the atmosphere. Scott Central, who knows? Key number 3, the pregame meal. Okay, Dalton, Calhoun City having a choice of turkey or roast beef subs at French Camp. They're going to do a little restaurant at French Camp off the Trace, so that'll be some good eating. Scott Central going to have hamburgers and French fries. Classic all-American meal, Dalton. Can't go wrong with that. So I like both of those choices. Good.
Yeah, I think I go with Calhoun City on that one though.
Roast beef sub, sounds delicious. Prediction?
This is going to be a low scoring one. Calhoun City 15-14.
I'm going to go with Scott Central, 15-13. Yeah, could be. It should be that kind of game, Dalton. All right, here we go. Game number 3 in 1A, Smithville at Simmons. Smithville 11-3, Simmons 13-0. The Noles looking to take down the 3-time defending state champs. Dalton, 3 keys to the game. Well, number 1, Smithville must not be intimidated. I mean, it's easy to be because this Simmons team has won 53 consecutive games. There's 3 straight state titles, going to be on the road. But let's not forget, last year in the North Final, Okolona played Simmons very close, and in the state championship game, Nenawaya just about had them beat. Lost by a point there in the late in the game. So I think this team is beatable. Now, whether Smithville's the team to do that, I don't know. But they can't go in there intimidated or you'll lose from the opening kickoff. Key number 2, Simmons has a very balanced attack on offense. They average 226.5 yards passing per game, 263.6 on the ground, Dalton. I mean, this team is just loaded with weapons. Even they lose Marquez Pam, Mr. 1A football last year, and they haven't missed a beat.
They got another 1A Mr. Football.
They do. So they just keep churning out the talent down there in Simmons. Key number 3, the pregame meal. Okay, Smithville, what you got? You got hamburger steak. That's what they're having, along with green beans and mashed potatoes at a place called Jake and Rips in Grenada. I've never been there. Any of y'all ever been there? If it's named a place called Jake and Rips, sounds like it's good. Yeah, so pretty good choice there by the Seminoles. Simmons going to have a rotisserie chicken spaghetti. Fancy. Those are I love chicken spaghetti. I don't know if I've ever had rotisserie chicken spaghetti.
Yeah.
James, nodding his approval, says that's good stuff. Okay, along with green beans. A lot of green beans being eaten. Well, you got to load up on the carbs and your veggies. That's what you got to do before a football game. Okay, Dalton, here we go. Prediction time.
I'm going to pick Simmons.
Yeah.
I think Smithville's going to keep it close for a little bit, but I think Simmons is going to be too good through the air.
Yeah.
Kind of out-athlete them a little bit. I'm going to go about, I'm thinking 34-12.
Okay. I also will pick Simmons. I'll say 28-7. So, hey, but a good run by Smithville this year, certainly. Coach Michael Campbell in that group. So those are your 3 games to watch, and we'll have coverage, of course, in the Daily Journal. We'll go over those plans in just a moment. But first, the Bralton Award, Dalton, the best 1-2 punch from last week. This is normally a 2-person award. This week we're giving it to one guy, Anthony Campbell, the Calhoun City linebacker and running back. He was a one-man 1-2 punch last week in that 14-0 win against Philadelphia. On offense, 120 rushing yards on 26 carries. And on defense, he led the team with 11 tackles, and he had a pick 6 in the fourth quarter to kind of seal the deal there for Calhoun City. So congrats to Anthony Campbell, winner of the Bralton Award. And finally, let's go over the coverage plans, Dalton. Like I said, just 3 games to cover. We got Olive Branch at West Point in the 5A North Final. That'll be you. In the 2A North Final, Calhoun City at Scott Central. Brandon Shields will be on the job for us. And in 1A, Smithville at Simmons, Melissa Metter making the trek down there to cover that game. So look for our coverage in the Daily Journal and at djournal.com Saturday. And that's it. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll have an episode next week if at least one team wins. I think even if just one team wins, we'll do something next week. If they all lose, then it's been fun. Be sure to check out our podcast, Prep Rally, every Wednesday in iTunes, any of your podcast apps, or you can find it online at preprally.djournal.com, and follow us on Twitter at DJournalPreps. And that's it for the DJPreps Football Preview Show. Thanks for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. That was better.